Now we're going to go to the international newspapers. Elena is with us here on set, and the paper's already starting to put online at least some reactions to the death of Kim Jong-il.
Yes, we've got some analysis already. There's a good piece in The Atlantic about what may come next after the death of Kim Jong-il. They say we should be wary of assuming that this transition from him to his son, Kim Jong-un, is necessarily going to be smooth. They reckon, of course, we know very little about what's going on in North Korea, but that there may be opposition within the leadership to his son taking over. They say when Kim Jong-il himself took over from his own father in 1994, he kept a low profile and wasn't heard from for a year. Apparently, according to keen North Korea watchers, that was because he was trying to play down opposition within some of his father's allies, some of the other generals. And this may be the case again now with his son. That choice of successor might not necessarily be universally popular among the generals that run that regime. Now, that article reckons that if Kim Jong-un wants to take control, he's going to have to display that he's a charismatic, decision-making leader early on, and the likeliest way he's going to do that will probably be by ratcheting up tension with America and with South Korea, and by making more sort of aggressive military moves that will hopefully get the adoring public back on side in North Korea. There's a profile of him in the Telegraph. They're the first paper I saw to rush one out online this morning. And they say very few North Koreans actually know who he is. So he's got quite an uphill struggle to kind of create a media image that will sort of sell himself to the public there. Because, of course, the whole regime is based on a personality cult. And that won't work unless they've got a strong sense of who he is that's in charge.
And the papers are also commemorating another very different former world leader who's died this weekend. This is the Czech president turned President Václav Havel, of course.
Yes, here he is on the front page of the Czech Republic's most widely read newspaper, which I think is pronounced Dnes. They've devoted the whole paper to him this morning, and full of very moving tributes from everyone, from the current Czech president to Barack Obama to ordinary people who sat out all night in the snow lighting candles in vigils for him. He's also here on the front page of The Guardian in England. There's a moving tribute on this front page from their foreign correspondent Timothy Garton-Ash, who met him years ago in the 1980s in Prague and reported from there, and it describes him as not just a dissident, the epitome of a dissident, the man who invented protest as electrifying street theatre. They say he wasn't just a European, he was the man who embodied the political and moral core of Europe, and he was also one of the most engaging men that writer ever met. The paper's editorial is also worth a read today. They say we're in danger of forgetting now in modern Europe that the idea of Europe had a moral and political core, and that it was once something noble and liberating. And they say Europe is still a patchwork of very small countries in a globalised world. And so Václav Havel's vision of Europe is just as much relevant now as it ever was.
Now, there's one image which has been all over social media over the weekend, in the newspapers as well today. This is the woman being beaten in Egypt.
Yes, exactly. Here she is on the front page of the Egyptian demonstrators' own paper, Al Tahrir, that woman with her abaya cloak over her head being dragged down the street by several policemen. This has really done the tour of the world. In The Atlantic, they look at why it's just so powerful. Of course, this is not just brutality, but it's sexually humiliating, it's attacking women, it hits every Arab taboo, they say. And there's an interesting piece in the New York Times, which is about the propaganda war going on between state and independent media. While the independent media is disseminating these images of brutality, state TV channels are still saying that people are being paid by shadowy liberal groups to protest, and there's a battle going on over the Egyptian public's hearts and minds.
Very briefly, the DR Congo, Democratic Republic of the Congo, some international reaction there.
Yes, the Guardian's correspondent there says there's a clash going on between dictatorship and democracy. Why hasn't the Arab Spring spread south of the Sahara? Well, maybe they say it's because the international media and other countries just aren't interested enough. They say we need to, both the media and international politicians need to give more support to the opponent, Etienne Tshisekedi, there in the Congo. And because if they don't, then democracy will never spread south of the Sahara.
Elena, thanks very much. That's Elena there with the international newspapers here on France 24.